とハグ、私と二人っきりで。
You guys can't tell by the title or the thumbnail, this is actually a manga recommendation slash anime recommendation because it is coming out next year in 2026. We're just shy of a year away from it, but I wanted to get a head start and just recommend it to you because I recommended you guys the Fragrant Flower and now it's getting an anime adaptation, so why not do it with this series? So, tune into the Midnight Heart, or also known in Japanese as Mayonaka Heart Tune. I really fuck with this series. If you're a big fan of the quintessential quintuplets, if you like romance, mystery type of stories, then you're really gonna be in for a treat with this one. However, unlike the quintessential quintuplets where all the characters are related, you can't tell who is who. With this series specifically, they're all not related. They're pretty much more like friends. It's kind of like a similar situation like Nisekoi, where all of them are friends, but they're all childhood friends. And it's pretty interesting because, like, unlike your typical harem trope where the guy has to find the girl and whatnot, you're obviously saying this story is kind of different because our main character Yamabuki, he's pretty self-aware. He's not an idiot. He's like the head son of like this top organization in Japan, the Yamabuki family. He's like the heir to like this famous company. He goes to a school specifically to find the girl that he met many years ago over the radio. And you know what's funny? The first time I read this chapter, the first thing you see, he literally says, all the girls in my classroom say I love you right now because I want to hear your voice. And he gets absolutely flamed for it. And it's just funny because most other characters would like take forever to say I love you. Nah, this dude straight up says, tell me you love me, because I'm trying to figure out which one of you baddies is the girl who told me they loved me many years ago. And it's pretty funny. I gotta admit, the comedy in this series pretty funny. Like, I was laughing so hard many times reading the series. I was actually reading the series at work, and my coworkers would end up looking at me saying, why the hell are you laughing? What's so funny? And I'm like, nah, nothing. You wouldn't get it. But yeah, pretty much the story about this series is that our main character, Yamabuki, many years ago back in middle school, he would listen to a radio broadcast who went by the name Apollo. And Apollo didn't really have too many listeners, and Yamabuki was pretty much one of the only few listeners to talk to Apollo. They would both talk on the phone with one another over the radio. Things would be said. You guys know how podcasting works. Yeah, he was pretty much her only listener. And they promise to each other, I love you, whatever, I want to be with you, stuff like that. So after many years, she pretty much ends up ending her broadcasting because she doesn't really have too many viewers, and he's pretty upset by it. But he doesn't ever forget her voice. He doesn't ever forget the promise that they made with one another, which is why he moves to this school, because he tracked the girl down to this area. He doesn't really know who it is, but when he actually ends up hearing the voice of Apollo, he ends up following the voice to the broadcasting room, only to find out that it's not just one girl, but it's in fact 4 multiple girls that have the near same identical voice as one another. So now his goal is to figure out which one of these girls is Apollo, which one of these girls is the one I made the promise with, which to me is such a really interesting premise, because unlike other series where it's like, which one is who does he look like, who does she look like, he doesn't actually know how they physically look like. He only knows by the voice. And the fact that all these girls have a similar identical voice is pretty interesting to me. And the fact that all these characters are very unique on their own. Yeah, they're not related or whatnot, but they're all really close friends. They all have different personalities, personas, and goals. For example, one of them wants to be a VTuber, one of them wants to be a singer, one of them wants to be an actress, one of them wants to be a broadcaster. So like all of them have goals that involve their voices. And it's just so interesting, specifically with their character designs. They all look very different. And the fact about this series is that you can't pick one girl or another because they're all very likable. Like for me, for example, I had a hard time choosing which one of these characters was my favorite, which one I wanted to root for, because if you root for one character, then you kind of feel bad for the others because you don't want them to lose. And I like the story because it has flash forwards where it tells you hints about who already won, because it tells you, oh hey, you already met your wife, this and this, how did you guys meet, but never reveals who the actual girl Apollo is, which I really like how there's flash forwards, flash backwards, but in this current time of the setting, it's like in the modern era where he's still a teenager, where he's still trying to figure out who Apollo is. But I do like the flash forwards because it gives you hints, the author's dropping hints as who the main girl Apollo is. But what's interesting about this series as well is that each one of the things that all of these girls say is something Apollo's told Yamabuki many years ago as well. So he's having a hard time trying to piece together who Apollo is, because all of these characters have similar traits, have similar personalities. For example, one of them said, I really want to go to fireworks. Apollo said the same thing many years ago. Apollo also said, oh, I really love stuffed animals. And one of the other characters said, I really love stuffed animals. So he has a hard time trying to identify who the hell Apollo is. Why is there so many girls that have the same thing? Because he doesn't really know. And it's pretty interesting. Yeah, let me give you the names of all these characters, because there's 4 girls. Also, before I mention the girls, there's actually another girl, but she's kind of like the teacher. The sensei is Lemon-chan. Now, I don't know what's up with characters being named Lemon-chan. There's like 2 of them now. There's one in like Mashal, yellow-haired girl, and now in this series, she's actually like 27. She's such a baddie. I really like her design. I don't know, this teacher, something about this teacher, I want a specific chapter dedicated on her, because she's such a baddie. She's so clumsy. She kind of reminds me of Aqua from Konosuba, but yeah, the characters in question are stupid ads. We got Rika Inohana, who's basically wants to be the singer. We have Shinobu Uzuki, who wants to be your main broadcaster. We got Nene Himakawa, she wants to be a very famous actress. And then you got Iko Kirino, who wants to be a VTuber. All of these characters have specific goals. Some of them are already singers, some of them have already done this. And I love the fact that Yamabuki pushes all of these characters to be who they want to be. He made a promise to pretty much all these girls, saying, I'm gonna help you, each of you, to like achieve your goals. Until then, I can't find the girl I want to find, because I made a promise to the girl Apollo many years ago that I'm gonna help her reach her goals as well, and she has similar values to each one of you, and one of you is Apollo. So I don't know who it is, but I'm gonna find out. But until then, I'm gonna help you guys achieve your goals, and then one of you can reveal to me who Apollo is. And the author constantly is dropping hints as to Apollo is. Like, my current theory is it's either Shinobu or Rika. That's just my thing. But I like how each of these characters have like their own individual arcs that kind of coincide with one another. They say, oh, this is Shinobu, this is this girl, this is that girl. So you can't really tell who Apollo is, who the main girl is, because it's kind of difficult to interpret which is which. It's really one of those type of stories that leaves you wanting more, that leaves you wanting guessing, and each chapter leaves you off on a big cliffhanger. You don't know what's gonna happen. One character would guess one another. There's like a lot of developing love story, a lot of developing progress made in this series, which I'm honestly a big fan of. Also, the character designs, the artwork is so pretty. And when I was researching this series specifically, I actually found out that like they made promotions for this anime using actual voice actresses, because voice plays such a key factor into this series. Because like I said, VTubers, you have to use their voice. Actresses, you have to hear them to identify them. Broadcasters, you have to hear their voices. Musicians, you obviously gotta hear their voices. So like the fact that whenever they started posting this manga to advertise, they actually hired voice actresses. Even with the anime release teaser, you can hear specifically how each of the voices sound very distinct and very similar, because voice plays such a key factor into this series, because Yamabuki has a hard time identifying who is who. And like, I'm pretty excited to see how they're gonna adapt this series, because especially with the musician, especially with the VTuber, with nowadays how everyone wants to be a VTuber and whatnot, I'm really looking forward to see how they're gonna tackle this in the anime. And judging from the trailer that they released, it looks amazing. The artwork is pretty much near identical to the manga. The manga artwork is so stunning. I think some of my favorite arcs are like the firework festival arc, as well as the school festival arc, and also Nena's arc, where she like goes to live with our main character Yamabuki. I really like that. I'm gonna be honest right now, I have a hard time trying to pick who is best girl, but my favorite girl has got to be Iko. Kirino, she's basically the VTuber. I'm not the biggest fan of VTubers, but the way that they write their character, the way that the author writes her character, makes me fall in love with this character, because her design is so cool and whatnot. I also like Riko Inohana, because she's really trying to get with Yamabuki. All of these characters, by the way, also have fallen for him, so that's a pretty interesting dynamic. And then Nini Himekawa, she's just tsundere. I like tsunderes, but I don't know. I don't know. Between those three, I think Iko is probably my favorite. My least favorite is probably Shinobu, because we haven't really seen too much of her. But besides that, I don't really want to spoil some of the key plot points of this series. Just know, if you like quintessential quintuplets, you love a good mystery harem type of thing, I recommend that series. It's very self-aware. It's a very nice series, so go ahead and read it now before the anime gets adapted next year. But judging by the way the anime looks, it's gonna be amazing. It's calling it now, it's gonna be a 12 episode series, or maybe they'll do a 24 episode romance series, kind of like Blue Box or whatever it's called. Maybe they'll do that. I'm really hoping they do that. So yeah, that's just my manga recommendation of the day. I saw this recommended to me on TikTok, so yeah, if you've read this series, who is your favorite anime girl out of all these girls? Who do you like the most? So yeah, and if you want to support me, feel free to click the link down below. We got teas, we got merch, whatnot. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted, and I'll see you on my next video.